All right, y'all. Today I wanted to talk about a park that I bought. It was actually my second park that I bought. I want to tell you why I bought it, how I bought it, and how I made $1 million buying it. Okay? So I know like parks are a big thing right now, RV parks, mobile home parks, and people don't know where to start. So here we go. All right, so I mentioned on the last episode that I was looking to like house hack, but instead of house hacking, like mobile home park hack, live in it and like, live for free. Right. But the park that I ended up flipping was too ghetto for me to live in. All right. So I started looking a little closer to areas that I wanted to be in, got more specific with those locations. But anyway, I found this park on Mobile Home Park Store, just like I found the other one. Google city you're looking for, expired listings, mobile home, like mobile expired mobile home park, San Antonio, Texas, right? That's what I did. And I ended up finding one just south of San Antonio. All right, the dude wanted like double what I ended up paying. Maybe not double, but a lot more than what I ended up paying. I think he wanted maybe $1 million, a little over $1 million. Brand new double wides, tiny homes. It was a nice built park. Just didn't sell in the market for whatever reason, and he didn't want a landlord. All right, so what I ended up doing is, he told me no over the phone with my price. And like I told you on the last episode, I was just using 2%. I really didn't know much about cap rates, not offer this and that, but I knew that if I could get the monthly rent at 2% and that'd be the purchase price, it'd probably be a good deal. All right. And we ended up meeting at 1.5% because he seller financed it. But this is how this went. I drove out there in my car, my Mercedes, right? So I maybe thought that I looked like maybe I'm professional, right? I've been in real estate a long time, just newer to mobile home parks. Even though I bought this other one, it was working out really well for me. I end up offering him 750,000. I want to say, I want to say he's bringing in somewhere around 12 grand a month, 11 grand a month, maybe 10 grand. I don't remember the exact numbers, but we ended up settling on 750,000. Let's do the math real quick. I'm sorry, like we'll do it real quick so you know where my head was at. So I told him 2%, right? So like let's just say something was making $10,000 a month. If you divide that by 1.5%, that's 666,000. Let's say it was making 12,000 a month. You divide that by 1.5%. That's 800,000. So he must have been making somewhere between 11 and 12,000 a month as is. So my rule of thumb was like, hey, if anybody ever seller finance me something, I'll do 1.5% instead of 2%. It's my quick math. Okay. So that being said, we end up agreeing at 750,000, but I told him that I couldn't buy it. Like I'm good at the number, but like didn't have the bank loan or the cash to do it. So like, how could we work from there? This guy was super experienced, and we're friends to this day. I've learned a ton from him, a freaking ton. But he's like, well, why don't you do a lease option? Like, why don't we do a lease option? He's like, my pain point is I don't want a landlord, but I want the money every month, right? Like I'm good with 10 grand a month. I'm like, cool. So he's like, how about you rent it from me for 10 grand a month? And I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, and the money you pay me, we just put towards the down payment when you end up buying it. I'm like, badass, right? So I end up doing a lease option. I don't know for how long, maybe a year. And then I end up purchasing it, right? And the way I purchased it is I assumed like he had assumable loans on several of the tiny homes and several of the mobile homes. And then he seller financed me. Actually, I assumed all the homes. Thinking about it now, there was like 20, 21 homes. I assumed them all. The ones that he had existing mortgages on, but he had a lot paid off too. So I assumed those, and then he seller financed me the land at like 3% interest, but he said every year it would double because he wanted me to refinance it. So we did that song and dance, and I end up getting the place appraised because I'm like, well, I'm gonna refi it. There was another couple acres behind it, And I was like, I can put some more homes back there. Ends up appraising over $1 million at the time, as is. I'm like, all right, cool. So I talked this bank, I think it was Stearns Bank at the time. I talked them into, I'm like, hey, look, if I can go get these fourplex units, they're like man camps, right? Like man camp housing, if you're familiar with oil field, it's like a big ass trailer, but there's like four doors. All right. So when you walk in, there's just studios, but they're brand new. You got the kitchen when you walk in. You got just an open concept area. You can put the bed, whatever you want there. And then you have a bathroom, the shower, you sink, all the stuff, right? Brand new products. They're like, we'll sell these things to you for 60 grand. I'm like, damn. In my head, I'm like, I know I can get $700 for each door for 60 grand. So that's like, 2,800 bucks a month for every 60 grand I spent. I was like, let's see if this model works. You know, I didn't have septic on that back part of that land, but I'm just outside the city limits. Um, and for whatever reason, I had a really affordable septic guy that knew the city real well. So that helped me out because I'd never developed a park either. So I get with the city. I'm like, hey, can I? So I don't know, right? I get with them like, can I do this? And they're like, yeah, septic only allows, 4 units, this type of septic. I'm like, cool. Well, I talked the dude into doing the septic for like 7 grand, which is super cheap for that unit. And then, I ended up buying two. So I put two septics in. Well, what's cool is imagine like a big square parcel right behind a park. My handyman's like, hey, I've got a plumber buddy, and we could just trench it out all the way around the land, right? And we could lay the plumbing, and then we could just tie in to the units and tie into the existing plumbing, and we're good. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So it was like super affordable, right? I think I did all the plumbing for like 5 or 6 G's. I'm all in for each unit, probably 80 grand by the time we did all the stuff, right? So 80 grand, and I'm making 2,800 a month when it's said and done for each fourplex. So, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like my rents are up big time. And now, present day, I have everything full. It's nice. We got all the stuff. It's a cool park. Well, I go to get a refinance and they do an appraisal and it's $2.2 million. Right? Which I guess let me back up a little bit. The bank ended up giving me the money on my first refinance to put the units. I didn't take any excess cash out. They just gave me it was 80 grand for each unit, all in. So they paid for that. So, and I ended up putting the 100 something down from the lease option before. It's like complicated, right? But when you get in this stuff, you figure out how to move the pieces and work. So anyway, I end up at a $750,000 loan and I'm making $5,600 extra a month in the back part of this property. I've raised rents on everything else, right? This property is bringing in like 19 G's a month or something, like somewhere around there. At this present day, right, it's NOI, net operating income, is how commercials actually valued, right? And it's 168,000. It's several years straight now, couple like 3 years straight, 168,000. Like, let's get this thing refinanced. Let's pull some cash out. If you've been an investor, like, hey, pull cash out, need cash out. But I end up getting it appraised for $2.2 million. Right? I owe 750 on it or whatever it is now. And which is really cool. And I only asked for a $1.1 million loan. I was kind of kicking myself because super modest with my numbers. I was like, well, I'll just base it at a 10 cap, right? That's how commercials rated. And I was like, well, 168 NOI at a 10 cap, which even I know banks are going to do an 8 cap, even lower sometimes. I was like, let's just say it's a $1.7 million park. Like, and I should have asked for more hindsight, but it's cool. I still have $1 million in the deal. They're going to give me 1.1 million bucks, right? So it's worth 2.2. So I'm leaving $1 million in the deal. So I'm, labeling this video how I made $1 million buying a park, but I guess it's actually what 1.5 million bucks, right? Which is really cool. And the reason I wanted to do this video is to open your eyes on like the possibilities of this stuff. And I'll keep going into this because we're buying more parks and It's a favorite asset class that I like now. I've done houses forever. And like a little bit about my mindset is I'm like jump out the plane and build the parachute on the way down kind of guy, and that got me in a lot of trouble with houses, but it also made me a lot of money with houses. The biggest thing though is I've gained so much experience over my time as an investor, right? So I wouldn't take anything back. But now I know the direction that I'm going, or we just bought a 140 unit park, which I'm going to tell you how, none of my money. Buying an 88 unit next month, and I'm going to keep this rolling because now I'm really just like my goal is to like build net worth and build cash flow. That's my goal, right? So I hope that you got something out of this. If you have any questions, leave them in whatever comments below, wherever you see this at. Reach out to me on Facebook. I answer DM, Travis Wells. Instagram's Travis Clay Wells. We're getting this YouTube thing going. Hit the like, subscribe. Property Profits Podcast. I think this is going to be episode 201. Would love for you to refer it to a friend. I don't do any paid ads, nothing like that for this stuff. So if you did get value out of this, refer it, mean the world, and keep on keeping on.